Wife humiliated me at her law firm opening, calling me trial husband before serving divorce papers in front of everyone. They laughed and mocked me. I left without a word, then canceled every financial commitment and didn't look back. 97 missed calls told the story. Panic set in fast. Here's my starter husband. Time for the real thing. Veronica's voice cut through the cocktail chatter at her law firm opening like a blade. I stood there in my best suit, holding a glass of champagne I'd bought, watching her address a room full of attorneys who'd come to celebrate her new practice in downtown Charlotte. My name is Lucas. I'm 39, and I've been married to Veronica for 8 years. I work in financial consulting, the kind of steady job that pays bills and builds credit. Nothing glamorous, nothing that gets you invited to cocktail parties. But I was the one who made this party possible. Veronica gestured toward me with her champagne flute and the room turned to look 20-something lawyers in expensive suits, older partners with their practice smiles, law school classmates, who'd made it to the big firms, all of them staring at me like I was some kind of exhibit. Lucas has been such a good sport about supporting my career, she continued, her voice carrying that tone she used when she wanted to sound gracious but cutting co-signing loans, guaranteeing credit lines, making sure I could focus on what really mattered. But now that I'm established, well, she pulled an envelope from her purse with theatrical flair. These are divorce papers. I think it's time I upgraded to someone more compatible with my new position. The room went quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then someone started laughing. Then someone else. Soon half the room was chuckling like this was the funniest thing they'd heard all week. A few people actually applauded. I looked at the envelope in her manicured hand, divorce papers, at her law firm opening, in front of her colleagues. She'd planned this, choreographed it, made me part of her show. Don't look so shocked, Lucas, she said, pressing the envelope into my hands. You had to know this was coming. I mean, look around. She gestured at the sleek office space, the expensive furniture, the well-dressed crowd. This is my world now. You were just transitional. Someone behind me whispered, brutal but smart, no point dragging it out. Another voice. She's got guts. I respect that. I stood there for a moment, feeling their eyes on me, feeling the weight of their judgment. 8 years of marriage reduced to entertainment at a cocktail party. I folded the envelope and put it in my jacket pocket. Didn't say a word. Just walked to the door. Lucas, don't be dramatic, Veronica called after me. We can discuss the details later. Stay and have a drink. I kept walking, but something cold and calculating was already forming in my mind, something that told me Veronica might not understand exactly what she'd just thrown away. The drive home gave me time to think about how we'd gotten here. 8 years ago, Veronica was a paralegal with big dreams and bigger debts. She was smart, ambitious, and completely broke. Law school cost money she didn't have, and her credit was already stretched thin from undergraduate loans. That's where I came in. My consulting business was doing well and my credit score was pristine, 842 to be exact. When Veronica got accepted to law school, she couldn't qualify for the full amount she needed. The banks wanted a co-signer with solid income and clean credit history. Just temporarily, she'd said, sitting at my kitchen table with loan applications spread out like battle plans. Once I graduate and get established, I'll refinance everything in my name. You'll be free and clear. I'd believed her. More than that, I'd wanted to help her succeed. So I signed for $68,000 in law school loans, then another $15,000 for bar exam prep, then $37,000 more when she decided she needed a Master of Laws degree to specialize in corporate litigation. But the request didn't stop after graduation. I need to look the part, she'd explained when she asked me to co-sign a credit line for her professional wardrobe, $25,000 for suits, shoes, and accessories that would help her fit in at networking events. Then came the technology package for her new practice, legal research subscriptions, case management software, high-end computers and servers, another $40,000 in business credit that required my personal guarantee. The professional liability insurance needed a backer too. The office lease required someone with established credit to guarantee the rent. The legal databases, the bar association dues, the conference fees, the continuing education courses. Everything required Lucas to sign on the dotted line. I'd kept careful records, of course. Spreadsheets tracking every dollar, every guarantee, every promise to handle this myself once things stabilize. The total came to $223,000 in loans, credit lines, and personal guarantees, all backed by my credit, my income, my reputation with the banks. And through it all, Veronica had grown more distant, more critical. She'd started introducing me as my husband instead of using my name. Then just, this is Lucas, with no explanation of who I was or why I mattered. Tonight was just the final step in a process that had been building for months. The warning signs had been there. Late nights at the office with colleagues I'd never met. Weekend trips to legal conferences where spouses weren't invited. Conversations that stopped when I entered the room. But I'd kept signing papers, kept guaranteeing loans, Kept believing that supporting her dreams would somehow strengthen our marriage. Tonight proved how wrong I'd been. I sat in my truck outside our house for an hour before going inside. Not because I was devastated, because I was thinking. Veronica had made a mistake tonight. A big one. She'd assumed that my support was somehow separate from my worth. That she could take everything I'd provided, build her career on the foundation of my credit and my guarantees, then discard me like I was some kind of stepping stone. But here's what she didn't understand about finance. When you remove the foundation, everything built on top of it comes down. I pulled out my phone and started making calls. First I called my attorney, not a divorce lawyer, though I'd need one of those soon enough. I called James Wright, who handled my business contracts and knew exactly what kind of financial exposure I was carrying for Veronica's career. Lucas, it's almost 11 p.m. Is everything okay? I need you to review every document I've signed for Veronica's practice. Every guarantee, every co-signature, every personal backing arrangement. I want to know my options for withdrawal. What happened? She served me divorce papers at her law firm opening, in front of her colleagues. Made it into entertainment. James was quiet for a moment. Jesus. Okay, I can be in my office by 7 a.m. Bring everything. Next, I called my accountant, then my banker. By midnight, I had a clear picture of exactly how much power I held over Veronica's professional life. She'd built everything on credit I'd provided. The business loan for her office space required my personal guarantee, meaning the bank could come after me if she defaulted. The equipment financing for her computers and legal software was in my name. Her professional liability insurance listed me as the policy guarantor. Even her legal research subscriptions were tied to a business credit card that required my approval for charges over $5,000. The beautiful irony was that Veronica, for all her legal expertise, had never bothered to read the fine print on our agreements. Most of them included clauses allowing me to withdraw my guarantee with 30 days' notice. Some could be terminated immediately if the primary borrower's circumstances changed significantly. A divorce certainly qualified as a significant change in circumstances. I made a pot of coffee and started writing letters. Withdrawal of guarantee notices. Termination of cosigner agreements. Cancellation of credit line backings. Each one professionally worded, legally sound, and devastating to Veronica's ability to operate her practice. By sunrise, I had 17 letters ready to mail. Certified delivery. Return receipt requested. I also had a plan. Veronica thought she'd humiliated me in front of her colleagues. But humiliation was temporary. Financial collapse was permanent. She was about to learn the difference between having a career and having the credit to maintain one. I showered, put on my best suit, and headed to the post office. Then to my attorney's office. Then to the bank. Veronica had started this with divorce papers at a cocktail party. I was going to finish it with compound interest. The letters went out on Monday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, my phone was ringing. Lucas, we need to talk. Veronica's voice was tight, controlled, professional. I got some concerning notices in the mail. Did you? That's unfortunate. Don't play games with me. These withdrawal notices could seriously impact my practice. We need to discuss this like adults. I was sitting in my office, looking out at the Charlotte skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows. 39 floors up, where my consulting firm had rented space for the past 5 years. The same office where I'd reviewed Veronica's loan applications and signed my name to her dreams. I thought we were done discussing things, I said. Wasn't that the point of Saturday night? That was poorly handled, I admit that. But you can't destroy my business because your feelings got hurt. Your feelings got hurt. Like I was a child throwing a tantrum instead of a man who'd underwritten her entire career. I'm not destroying anything, Veronica. I'm just withdrawing my financial support from someone who publicly stated she no longer wants my involvement in her life. This is different. This is business. No, this was always business. You just convinced me it was something else. She was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her lawyer voice was in full effect. Measured, precise, threatening. If you proceed with these withdrawals, you'll be in breach of our marital agreement to support each other's careers. I can take you to court for intentional interference with my business relationships. I almost laughed. Veronica, you served me divorce papers at a cocktail party. I think our marital agreement is already null and void. The financial commitments are separate from the marriage. You can't just... Actually, I can. James Wright reviewed every document we signed. Turns out most of them have clauses allowing withdrawal in case of changed circumstances. Divorce is definitely a changed circumstance. James Wright, you went to my colleague's husband. That stopped me cold. What did you say? James Wright, his wife Patricia is in my practice group. They've been married 12 years. The pieces clicked into place. Patricia Wright, the blonde woman who'd been standing next to Veronica when she served me the divorce papers, the one who'd laughed the loudest when Veronica called me her starter husband. You knew, I said slowly. You knew I'd probably call James for legal advice. You knew his wife would tell him exactly what happened at your party. I knew you'd need legal counsel for the divorce. James is competent. But that wasn't what this was about. This was about control. Veronica had orchestrated Saturday night knowing that my own attorney was married to someone in her professional circle. She'd figured I'd be too embarrassed to pursue aggressive action against her if it meant exposing my humiliation to the legal community. She'd miscalculated. Veronica, let me ask you something. In all your legal training, did you ever study the concept of mutually assured destruction? What it's when both parties have the power to destroy each other, so neither one acts. It only works when both parties care equally about the outcome. I don't understand what you're getting at. You think I won't follow through with these withdrawals because it might embarrass me in front of your colleagues. You think I care what Patricia Wright tells James about our marriage. I looked out at the skyline again, at the city where I'd built my business and my reputation without needing anyone's approval or support. But here's the thing, Veronica. You need my credit to survive. I don't need your colleagues' approval to succeed. You've got a lot more to lose than I do. Lucas, be reasonable. We can work this out. I am being reasonable. I'm treating this like the business transaction you've made it into. The line went quiet. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller, less certain. What do you want? I want you to understand what you threw away on Saturday night. I want you to realize that your starter husband was holding up your entire professional life. And then what? Then you can figure out how to practice law without me. By Thursday morning, the first responses started arriving. The business loan company acknowledged my withdrawal of guarantee and informed Veronica that she'd need to provide alternative collateral or pay down the balance to an amount she could personally secure. $67,000 due within 30 days. The equipment financing company was next. Without my guarantee, Veronica would need to either pay off the remaining $42,000 immediately or return the computers, servers, and legal software that formed the technological backbone of her practice. But the real blow came Friday afternoon. Her professional liability insurance was canceled effective immediately. No insurance meant no practice. It was that simple. I was reviewing quarterly reports when my assistant buzzed my office. "Mr. Foster, there's a Veronica Foster here to see you. She says it's urgent. Send her in." Veronica walked into my office looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a hasty ponytail, and she was wearing jeans instead of one of her designer suits. She'd been crying. "Lucas, please, we need to talk." I gestured to the chair across from my desk, the same chair where she used to sit when she needed me to sign papers for her latest career advancement. "I'm listening." "My insurance is gone. The bank wants $67,000 by next Friday or they're calling the loan. The equipment company is threatening to repossess everything. That's unfortunate. Don't do this. Don't be cruel." I leaned back in my chair and looked at her. Really looked at her. 8 years of marriage, and I was seeing her clearly for the first time. "Veronica, do you remember what you said to me when you first asked me to co-sign your law school loans? That was 8 years ago. You said, I just need someone to believe in me until I can believe in myself. You said you needed a partner who understood that investing in your future was investing in our future together." She nodded, tears starting to form. "So I believed in you. I co-signed for $120,000 in education loans. I guaranteed another $40,000 in business credit. I backed your equipment financing, your insurance, your office lease, $223,000 of my credit supporting your dreams. I know. I'm grateful." "Are you?" "Because on Saturday night, you told a room full of lawyers that I was transitional, that I was your starter husband who'd served his purpose and could now be discarded. I didn't mean it like that." "You did though. You meant exactly like that. You thought you could take everything I'd given you and walk away clean. You thought your legal degree made you independent of the man who financed it." I pulled out a folder from my desk drawer. My copies of every loan document, every guarantee, every piece of paper that connected my financial life to hers. "But here's what you missed in all your legal training, Veronica. When you build something on borrowed foundation, you better make sure the foundation wants to stay in place." She stared at the folder. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to go back to your colleagues and explain how your starter husband was actually your primary financial partner. I want you to tell them that your successful practice was built on credit you couldn't qualify for on your own." "I can't do that. It would destroy my reputation." "Your reputation is already destroyed. Your practice is failing. Your insurance is canceled and your colleagues are about to find out that you can't manage your own finances. The only question now is whether you learned something from this." She sat there silently for a long moment. "How did I get this so wrong?" she whispered. "You started believing your own story," I said. "You forgot that success built on someone else's foundation isn't really yours." Saturday morning, I got the call I'd been expecting. "Lucas, this is Patricia Wright. I think we need to discuss the situation with Veronica." Patricia, the woman who'd laughed when Veronica served me divorce papers, the wife of my attorney, calling to clean up the mess her colleague had created. "What situation is that, Patricia? Don't be obtuse. Veronica's practice is in crisis because you withdrew your financial backing. This affects more than just her." "That was interesting. How does it affect you?" We had cases we were going to refer to her, clients who need her expertise. If her practice fails, it impacts our entire network. Now I understood. Veronica hadn't just built her practice on my credit. She'd built it on promised referrals from other attorneys who expected her to be a reliable partner. My withdrawal wasn't just destroying her business. It was embarrassing the people who'd vouched for her. Patricia, I'm curious about something. When Veronica served me divorce papers at her opening, did she mention that her practice was entirely dependent on my financial backing? Silence. Because I'm thinking she probably portrayed herself as an independent success story. Self-made lawyer building her own firm through talent and hard work. Her qualifications speak for themselves, do they? Because from where I sit, her qualifications include 8 years of using my credit to fund her career while planning to discard me when she didn't need my signature anymore. You're being vindictive. I'm being practical. Veronica made it clear that she considers our partnership over. I'm simply agreeing with her assessment. What will it take to resolve this? And there it was, the real reason for the call. Veronica's colleagues were pressuring her to fix the situation because her failure was reflecting poorly on their judgment. It's simple, Patricia. Veronica needs to acknowledge publicly that her practice was built on financial support she's no longer entitled to. She needs to explain to her she'll never agree to that. Then her practice will fail and everyone who referred clients to her will look like they failed to properly vet her financial stability. I could hear Patricia breathing on the other end of the line. You realize this will hurt innocent clients too, she said finally. Veronica should have thought about that before she decided to humiliate the person funding her operation. So there's nothing we can discuss? No compromise? I looked out my office window at the city below. Somewhere out there Veronica was probably in her office, staring at stack of bills she couldn't pay and legal databases she couldn't access. There is one option, I said. What? Veronica can buy out my guarantees. All $223,000. Pay off every loan, every credit line, every obligation that has my name on it. Once she's truly independent, she can practice however she wants. She doesn't have that kind of money. Then she's not really independent, is she? Patricia was quiet for a long moment. This is about more than money, isn't it? Yes, it's about respect. It's about understanding that partnership means partnership, not exploitation. It's about the difference between earning something and being given something. And if she can't pay, then she'll have to rebuild her career the same way she built it the first time, by finding someone willing to believe in her potential and support her dreams. I paused, letting that sink in. Of course, this time everyone will know exactly what kind of partner she turned out to be. The line went dead. By Monday morning, I expected Veronica would finally understand the full scope of what she'd thrown away. Monday morning brought 97 missed calls. I was having coffee when my phone started buzzing at 6 a.m. Veronica. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. By the time I finished my shower, there were 15 missed calls and a string of increasingly frantic text messages. Lucas, please call me back. Everything is falling apart. My malpractice insurance is canceled. Legal research access cut off. Clients are calling, please. I drove to my office through Charlotte's morning traffic, my phone buzzing constantly in the passenger seat. By the time I parked, the missed call count had reached 43. At 9 a.m., she showed up at my office. Lucas, you have to help me. Veronica burst through my door looking desperate. Her professional composure was gone, replaced by raw panic. My research databases are locked out. I can't access case law. I have a brief due tomorrow and no way to prepare it. I looked up from my computer. That sounds like a problem. This isn't funny. I have clients depending on me. You should have thought about that before you decided you didn't need me anymore. I made a mistake, okay? I handled Saturday night wrong. But you can't destroy my entire career because I hurt your feelings. I stood up and walked to my window, looking out at the city where I'd built my reputation without anyone's help. Veronica, do you know what the definition of a starter husband is? Don't. It's someone who supports you until you're ready for something better. Someone whose value is entirely in what they provide, not who they are. I turned to face her. You were right. I was your starter husband. I was the foundation you built on until you were ready to move up. But here's what you missed. What? When you remove the foundation, everything built on top of it collapses. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it and her face went white. That's probably the Bar Association, I said. They're very concerned about lawyers who can't maintain their professional obligations. You called the Bar Association? I didn't have to. When your malpractice insurance was canceled, they were notified automatically. Practicing law without insurance is a serious violation. She stared at me, finally understanding. Your starter husband wasn't just paying for your lifestyle, Veronica. He was the entire foundation of your professional existence. 3 months later, I read in the legal newsletter that Veronica Foster had closed her practice and taken a job as an associate at a small firm in Gastonia. Her starting salary was $48,000, less than half what she'd been making monthly payments on. Patricia Wright called me once more, asking if I'd consider reversing my decision for the good of the legal community. I told her the legal community should focus on vetting the financial stability of lawyers before referring clients to them. The divorce was finalized without contest. Veronica couldn't afford to fight it. I kept the house, the one where I'd signed all those papers supporting her dreams. I turned her home office into a library. Sometimes I sit there in the evenings, reading books on business strategy and thinking about the difference between partnership and exploitation. My consulting firm landed 3 new clients in the months after Veronica's practice failed. Apparently, being known as someone who doesn't tolerate being taken advantage of is good for business. People respect clear boundaries. James Wright stopped representing me, citing his wife's professional relationship with Veronica. I found a better attorney anyway. Last week, I got a letter from Veronica. She wanted to apologize, she said, to explain that she'd gotten caught up in trying to impress her colleagues and lost sight of what really mattered. She hoped we could be friends someday. I threw the letter away without finishing it. Some bridges, once burned, aren't worth rebuilding. Some foundations, once removed, reveal exactly what they were supporting. I drive past her old office building sometimes. There's a yoga studio there now. Better use of the space. Sometimes the most important lesson you can teach someone is what they had before they threw it away.